Hello and welcome to Good Morning UK Have Your Say, a Force for Good's mid-morning show coming to you live from our nerve centre here in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow with me, your host, Alistair McConnachie. This is programme number 17 of our Wednesday morning show, and what a day, because it is the final day of the final countdown with 1 day to go. In fact, less than 1 day to go, less than 24 hours until the polls open across the United Kingdom tomorrow, not just for the Scottish ejection, which we're going to be talking about loads today, but also the Welsh election, the English council elections, the London mayoral election, and there's even a by-election in Hartlepool as well. So lots to talk about, and I'm sure you've got your opinions on all of those things. So please do fire them in. Do fire in your comments. Fantastic to see Morwena. Good morning to you, and to Tommy. And to Tommy Scott from Newcastle. And to Alan, good morning to you, and Marilyn. And Sue, I hope you had a great day on Saturday when you joined us. Some fantastic photographs from that event, our Union Day celebration, which we'll be talking about later. And Sandra as well. Thanks for coming along to the Union Day celebration, and good morning to you, Adam and Bill. Tommy says, let's hose down Holyrood. Well, let's do that, and then let's close it down. There's certainly a party that wants to close it down that will be standing tomorrow called Abolish the Scottish Parliament Party. They're standing on the second ballot paper. Good morning to you, Leslie, and to Barry. We are nearly there. We're nearly at the Scottish ejection. Alan says the Unionist parties have been weak by not targeting the SNP's record on health, education, transport and many other things. And Catherine, good to see you, and was great to meet you as well. So many of our great team came along. Morning to Ibrox Park from the county of Down. And Daniel, there was never a time more so than now when plain speaking is needed. That's for sure. That's for sure. And yes, the polls have definitely been in our way, Adam. That's correct. With people, with the Scottish nationalists appearing to go down in favour in the polls. We'll see. Yes, you're correct. We're not supporting independence, Amatol. We're very much for the union, for staying together, for solidarity and for unity. And I hope you are too, because that's the future. And Philip from the Borders, going to be an interesting election down there in the Borders, with lots of interesting candidates standing, some of them extremely good candidates for the Scottish Parliament. Excellent, good to hear, Amato. We hope with you that there won't be independence, or what we call separation, for Scotland. John says, can't wait to stick it to Sturgeon tomorrow. I know, we're all getting excited just to go to the ballot box and purge the Sturge. Okay, purge the Sturge. We had a great banner that was put up, a good banner that was put up at our Union Day rally, and it was Purge the Sturge. And I just want to show it to you because it's been getting a lot of good traction on social media. And let me just bring it up. You're going to love this. You're going to love this. Purge the Sturge. That's it there. And, you know, that is a work of art. There's no question. That is a work of art. I mean, to say, it's beautifully done, beautiful colours, perfect photograph there. Absolutely perfect photograph of Sturgeon. Let's have that back up again. Perfect photograph of her. And it's just, that banner could not be any better, and the message could not be any better. It's just perfection. And in fact, somebody on Twitter yesterday said that's one of the best posters that they've ever seen. And we definitely concur. And I just want to give a shout out to our banner creator, who is absolutely ace. That's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And the message is bang on. Message is bang on. Purge the Sturge. And would like to have seen the mass media make more of that, but I guess they don't want to give credit to A Force for Good there. But hey, we just continue to do our thing and set the trends and set the agenda. And the mass media can ignore us if they want, but people get to see us on social media. Bill says, well done to everybody who was out representing us. We had about 50 people, slightly over 50 people were there. And credit to every single one who came along. We had people who came down from as far as Aberdeenshire, and we had a couple who came up from the borders as well. And a lot of people from Glasgow and the surrounds. And thank you to them for coming along and flying the flag high. And let me just share with you a picture of our event, which was extremely good. Well, there's a couple ones here. I just want to show you this one first, and I'll just walk you through it. This one here. What we did was a fellow on Facebook designed these great Union Jacks that have got the word Scotland written right through it. So we had one of those. We had two of those. We had one flying very high on a 6-meter flagpole. Because it was Union Day, of course, we had the flags of all the home nations, the Ulster flag in there, the Scottish flag, the English flag, and the Welsh flag. And we had lots of our own AFFG flags and banners, and a Purge the Sturge banner and a Get Humza Out banner. So it was very colourful. Very colourful stuff. Very colourful stuff. And much, much more colourful than the Scottish nationalists who are at the other side of the square. And we probably just had about the same number as them. What happened was they were at the far end of the square next to the Wetherspoons pub and next to the corner where everybody passes through to get to Buchanan Street. So at their end, they were getting quite a lot of just passers-by stopping and looking and going, what's going on here? So when you take away all the passers-by, the rather disinterested observers, and all the people sitting in the background outside the Wetherspoons pub, you probably had about the same number, maybe less than what we had. Which is to say the first time since we've actually outnumbered the Nats. So that's a very good thing in itself. What they did have was a sound system with 5 speakers transported in by a van with a mixing desk as well. And so they were able to broadcast quite loudly. And that was the only thing really that they had going for them compared to us. But we were far more colourful, and we had a far greater diversity of people at our march. So thank you so much. Philip says, shocking media again. I remember when we voted for Brexit, the media interviewed... Yesterday, STV interviewed very posh 16-year-olds. I'm not surprised. And as Tommy says, we must ensure the turnout is high. We must make sure our voices are heard, because that's how the SNP got in. As we always say here in the constituency that we're trying to get Humza Yousaf out of, Glasgow Pollock, the turnout last time round in 2016 was 46%, okay? Over half the population did not bother to go along to the polling station or cast a vote. So that's tragic, basically. That's tragic. So we need to get that up. What happens, though, is that the SNP get all their votes out and everybody else just stays home. And that's how they get in. That's how they get in. It's one of the main reasons why they get in, is they're good at getting their vote out while everybody else just can't be bothered. And that's how we're going to lose the country if we're not careful. So it will be interesting to see what the turnout is like tomorrow and if it goes up considerably. Because at Scottish elections, as we always say, the overall turnout for Scotland barely breaks 50%. Barely breaks 50%. People are just not that engaged. The media make you think they're engaged at the Scottish level, but people are actually far more engaged at the British level. And that's why the turnouts at the Westminster elections, the general elections, are so much higher than they are, considerably so. Just to back up what I'm saying, let me just give you the exact figures for the last 5 years. Average turnout in Holyrood for the last five elections, 53%. Average turnout at Westminster for the last 5 elections, 66%. Considerable difference there. Considerable difference. Adam, we didn't see it yesterday. We didn't see the leaders' debate, but I'd be interested in knowing what you thought about who won. Con says vote tactically to get the SNP out. There's lots of good candidates standing on the ballot papers. We always say vote for who you want, but if you do want to vote tactically, then certainly in Glasgow, in any of the seats in Glasgow, the tactical vote would be for Labour. On the constituency ballot paper, the tactical vote would be for Labour. For example, if you want to get Humza out, or if you want to get Nicola Sturgeon out, then the tactical vote would be for Labour anywhere in Glasgow. But of course, vote for who you want. We're just saying if you wanted to vote tactically. And certainly in Edinburgh Central, and that's a big election there as well, where Angus Robertson, hopefully the soon-to-be forgotten one, is standing. If he gets in, he's like a real bad egg, okay? And he's really anti-British, so we want to keep him out as much as possible. And the tactical vote to keep him out in Edinburgh Central would be for the Tory, okay? The Tory to keep Angus Robertson, the soon-to-be forgotten one. Keep him out by tactically voting Tory, if you're into tactical voting. Otherwise, vote as your conscience dictates. And so Mark just saying there, hope the Scottish people get rid of Sturgeon and her cronies. Well, we could get rid of Sturgeon, because if Sturgeon loses in Glasgow Southside, she's basically out, okay? Often what these people do is they put themselves on the other ballot paper as well, on what's called the regional list, and they hope thereby to have an insurance policy if they lose the constituency. Well, Sturgeon is ranked number 2 on the regional list, so if she lost her constituency, it's very unlikely that she would actually get in on the regional list. So it would mean that she would be out. She would be out of Holyrood. So Anas Sarwar for Labour could actually get her out of Holyrood entirely. It's a difficult constituency to call. The word on the street is that it's very close. It's closer than Sturgeon would like to think. So it might well happen. Tomorrow we could purge the Sturge. But you know what? We're not going to know until Sunday, probably, because of all this COVID situation. The count is taking 3 days instead of several hours. So that's really annoying. Really annoying. But so be it. Adam says, how can we turn a nationalist into a unionist? That's a good question. Nationalists are actually brainwashed unionists falling under the power of Jeanette McCrankie. Yeah. I think within every nationalist there is a good unionist struggling to come out. How's that for a phrase? Within every nationalist there's a good unionist struggling to come out. Let's hope so. And, we unionists, we're Scottish patriots as well. That should never be forgotten. We're very much Scottish patriots, and we know that Scotland's best interests lie, as they always have, in union and partnership and solidarity and unity with our closest family throughout these islands. That's why we are unionists, because we love Scotland so much. That has to be remembered. The frame for us is very much one of connection, love, unity, all in it together, giving more than we get, all for one and one for all. The recognition that what unites us is far, far greater than what divides us, which is the opposite way of the nationalists. They see that what divides us is greater than what unites us, which is just something I've never been able to get my head around at all. And to the extent that I can understand it, and I do try to understand them because I read the National every day, and I try to get my head around about where they are coming from, and it's usually from a place that doesn't seem to be connected to reality. It's like, that's not actually how the world works, mate. That's not what's going on. Yet they've convinced themselves that the rest of these islands, specifically England, has got it in for Scotland, which is just a kind of fantasy, really, absolute fantasy. And anyway, more about that in a moment. Let's have a look at the things now. Who do we think is going to win Hartlepool? Does anyone have an opinion on Hartlepool? The Tories seem to be thinking that they're going to do it. Well, Billy, I don't know, Billy, you're saying that if you really had Scotland's interest at heart, you would get behind, I don't know if you're meaning us, but you would get behind Scottish Labour and change them from within. Well, we're saying that tactically, people in Glasgow should be voting for Scottish Labour. Whether you actually want people to join political parties and work from within, well, there's only a fringe, a very small number of people who are interested in joining political parties anyway. And so it's not like the whole of Scotland wants to join political parties. It's only a fringe interest. And so to then ask people who are that way to actually join a party specifically to change it, I mean, some people will do that, and good luck to them. It's not a majority pastime, though. But good luck to them. I mean, let's try to get as many people into Labour as possible who will be for the union and who will stand up for it. Definitely. Well, here's Philip saying that he fears 16-year-olds could give the SNP a landslide. Do you know, I don't know really the extent to which 16-year-olds... I mean, I'm against 16-year-olds voting because they're still institutionalized. They're still literally at school these days. And so you shouldn't be giving the vote to people who are literally institutionalized, whether that's in school or whether it's in, mental hospitals or whether it's in prisons. If you're institutionalized, you're subject to another power above you, which can influence you in various ways. So you shouldn't be getting the vote if you're institutionalized, which is what 16-year-olds still are. As for the argument that 16-year-olds don't know enough, when I was 16, I was pretty clever, so I certainly knew stuff. So I wouldn't go along that line that they're too young to know, because some people who are very old still vote for the SNP. So what does that tell you? So it's the main argument against 16-year-olds voting is that they're institutionalized, that they're still listening to their teachers and they're in a very vulnerable situation thereby. And especially in Scottish schools, they are in a very vulnerable situation because the Scottish curriculum is being changed to just promote nationalism. You know, I was talking to a colleague of mine recently, and she said that in primary one, they were teaching children to speak with Scottish words. Okay, Scottish words. Can you believe that? Rather than actually teaching them how to speak English. In primary one, okay, that's totally unacceptable. In primary one, you could teach them how to speak the language of the country, okay, not to otherwise. Anyway, so, but 16-year-olds are voting. People who are not citizens are also voting, okay, because they've been given the vote. So you can vote now if you're simply resident in Scotland. You don't have to be a British or Irish or Commonwealth citizen, as how it used to be. You can just be resident. And you don't have to have even been resident for a long time. And that's outrageous because it's intended to destroy the idea of the connection between national citizenship and democracy, okay? And that's an extreme kind of anarchic view that was promoted by the Greens, and it got through, unfortunately, in the last Parliament, that anybody can vote by simply being a resident here. And so, you know, we're up against it. Believe me, we're up against it. So, what's the time? It's almost the top of the hour. Coming up is our competition, and I'm going to tie the competition in with this day in British history. Now, this day was a very auspicious and it was a very great day in British history because it was on the 5th of May in 1980. The 5th of May 1980, which was a defining and proud moment in modern British history. And does anybody know what happened on that day, in this day, 5th of May 1980? Well, it was the day when the SAS burst into public consciousness and rescued 19 hostages live on national television, and thereby ended the Iranian Embassy siege. And that was on that had been going on for 6 days, because on the 30th of April, a group of armed men who were opposed to the Iranian government of the time stormed the embassy, and they took hostages. They took 26 people hostages, including embassy visitors and embassy staff and the resident policeman PC Trevor Locke, who had been on guard. And whatever their point of view may have been, the thing was that they wanted safe passage out of the country, and it was Margaret Thatcher at the time who said that that would not happen, and so a siege ensued. And during the siege, 5 hostages were released. 5 hostages were released, but by the 6th day, that was today, the 5th of May, the gunmen killed one of the hostages because they were frustrated at the lack of movement for their demands. And so it was decided to send in the SAS, and they abseiled from the roof and broke in through windows at the back, and a firefight lasted for 17 minutes. And it was on peak time on Bank Holiday Monday, and it was really quite something to see. I mean, if you saw it, you wouldn't forget it, because one minute you're watching, I can't remember what it was, the next minute you're watching these soldiers abseiling down a building and explosions and everything like that, and you're like, what's going on? Crikey. And what happened was that 5 of the 6 terrorists were killed, and 1 hostage was shot and killed by the terrorists during the siege. But the lesson was very loud and clear, which was don't mess with the SAS. And Several books have been written on the subject, and I have read this book, which is very good. Go, 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 the definitive inside story of the Iranian Embassy siege. And this is actually, I'm just going to show this off. This is signed for me by one of the soldiers, by Rusty Thurman, who helped write this book. To Alistair, from Rusty Thurman, the man with no gloves, my very best wishes, 14th Feb 2011. So that's one of my, I love that, prize collections here. And what he means by the man with no gloves is he also signed this wee picture for me, and that's him there because he's not wearing any gloves. And that's him and his crew going in through the back windows on this day in 1980. And that's that was some day, because that was a good sort of morale booster for the nation, I think, back then, especially at the time, like the 70s and 80s. All you were reading about and seeing on the telly was IRA bombs going off, and you thought, you know, Britain's finished, really. And then suddenly these guys just jumped on the scene and kicked bottom, and you think, goodness me, we can still do it. Fantastic. And to this day, we've still got them around. Now, the competition question for you, and the winners will receive another tin of jelly beans, 50 jelly beans in this fantastic Union Jack tin. We'll send this off to the winner today, who fires in the answer to contact at aforceforgood.uk. Send in your answer to the question which I'm about to ask you to that address, contact at aforceforgood.uk. Send in the answer to this question for that tin of jelly beans. What is the motto of the SAS? What is the motto of the SAS? That goes to the first person. This tin of jelly beans goes to the first person who can tell us what is the motto of Britain's SAS. Good stuff. Ian says, good luck in the election tomorrow. I want to see the Nats defeated, as they're a force for all things bad on these islands that we live in. Philip goes, my ex-company commander was one of those who helped with the planning of the operation. He was in the SAS before I joined the battalion. That's interesting, Philip. Interesting to know. If you have your answer, please send it into that email, not in the comments here. Good stuff. Sandra Kane remembers watching it. Absolutely. Well, here's a good point, and I wanted to get to this, and Mark's brought me on to it. Patrick Harvey, the flowerpot man, hates everything British apart from the British pound. How anyone can vote for him is beyond me, as his hatred for Britain is there for all to see. He really is, as you say, Mark, he is a real British hater, and he hates everything about the United Kingdom, and he hates like all the culture of the United Kingdom, and he's a rabid Republican. I mean, to the point where he like makes a thing of it. You know, some people might not be monarchists, but they don't make a thing of it. But he's really aggressively Republican in his stance. And if you're voting for what we call the Scottish Cabbage Party, then please be aware that you are voting to give them a mandate, as they see it, to campaign for separation. You know, for them, the normal ecological concerns of what we would understand as environmentalists, they're way down the list of the concerns of the Green Party in Scotland. The Scottish Greens are for breaking up the United Kingdom, for promoting a republic aggressively against the rest of the United Kingdom, and also for a whole variety of woke and politically correct weirdness, for want of a better expression. And they will promote this militantly. So they're further to, if you want to say, the left than the SNP, much more so than the SNP. They are undoubtedly the furthest left. I don't like using left and right, but you know what I mean, of any of the parties in Scotland, to an extent that many on the left don't even like them for that. You know, they're just off. They're off the radar, really, the Greens, as far as these things are concerned. So that's undoubtedly a vote for the Flowerpot Man and the Cabbage Party. Tomorrow is a vote to break up the United Kingdom. So don't vote for them on the second ballot paper is definitely our message. Good to see Oliver looking in. We must get you back on the programme, Oliver. Had a great interview with you a couple of weeks ago. As Bill says, they call themselves the Greens to dupe the environmentally conscious, but they're actually nationalist extremists. Yes. Good luck tomorrow, Scotland. Purge the Sturge and Humza out. Let's show you our Humza out banner that we also did. That's had great traction on social media. Let me bring it up here. That's the one. We hung that outside his office a few days ago. Took that fantastic picture. Again, brilliant banner there, designed by our great banner designer. Thank you to that person who is really, really good at what they do. And that's Humza dressed up in his 1984 style thought police uniform, because he thinks, Humza says, we've had a little bit too much to think, okay? And he's going to persecute us for that. He has brought in a law that will ensure that if somebody doesn't like what you're saying round the Christmas dinner table or round your anywhere at home, then that person who might not like you can go and report you to the police, and the police will be obliged to come and note you down, and note it down as a hate incident, regardless of whether you get convicted for it or not. So this is what's happening in modern Scotland, and unfortunately it's coming to a dinner table near you, because that is now the law. And if you think he should be punished for that, democratically punished, then we must vote him out tomorrow from Glasgow Pollock. And vote for who you want, but the tactical vote, obviously, in Glasgow Pollock is for Labour. Why does Harvey get a spot at the leaders' debate when he's only a leader of a list party, but Salmond and Galloway don't? I know a lot of people would like to have seen Galloway on the leaders' debate, because he is a very eloquent unionist performer, no question about that, and he's somebody who can articulate his point well, but the media have kept him off, and I noted that the media have kept off all the smaller parties, and they just keep it to what they're comfortable with, which of course is the usual party situations. Very hard for parties to break through here in the United Kingdom. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Andrew says the man will never tell you what you can and can't say in your own home. I'm afraid he already has told you, in the sense that if he was to overhear it, then he would prosecute you if he didn't like it. That's the thing. That's the thing. These people have already, they're running it. You know, they will stop us from saying what we want to say. I mean, there's stuff I'm not going to say on this program, you know, and I have to watch every single word that I say, because I know he's just waiting to send round his thought police. So we've all got to be very careful now. But I totally get your sentiment. But the reality is, you know, it's hit the fan, and we're in trouble. Basically, we all are, unless we can do something to get these people out and change the culture back to what it used to be, which was freedom of speech and freedom of expression and things like that. That's a goal as we move forward in the coming years, because throughout the United Kingdom, they're clamping down now, and big tech is helping them. And we've seen that with the COVID situation. And here I'm going to have to be awfully careful as well, because what they did was the system, the government and big tech set upon a story that they were going to go with. And they decided that if you did not agree with this story, you would not be heard. You would be, and if needs be, you would be punished. And so social media set about banning and removing thousands of people from Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and demonetizing anybody that did not have the story correct, which the government, the political establishment and big tech are promoting. And not only that, but they changed the definition of words as well, so that you couldn't actually argue with them. You couldn't say that's not an infection, because they had changed the definition of the word. So that's when we gave up talking about it, because it was like, this is hopeless, you know. They've totally locked it down. They've locked down free expression on COVID. You either go along with the program or you get chucked out and you lose everything. So we just shut up at that time when we realised that the game was a bogey. And we'll just have to see how it goes now, how things change, if they do or not, I don't know. But anyway, that's beside the point. You're absolutely right. Here's what we're dealing with, and this brings us on to something that I want to talk about. Is people don't know what he's done. I had a conversation with somebody in the Glasgow Pollock constituency when I was out and about, and this person was very much sympathetic to my way of thinking, but he did not know about this, the anti-free speech law that Humza had brought in. He didn't know about that, okay? So I am aware that sometimes these are fringe concerns, and not everybody's aware that what these politicians are doing to us behind the scenes. So yeah, not everybody knows, and that's a big part of it. And another big part of it is that what people think they know is not correct. Now, I want to give credit to a think tank, a pro-UK think tank called These Islands, who did a very good survey this week that got reported in all the press yesterday. And it showed the extent to which the separation debate is marred by widespread belief in myths around finance. For example, 50 of those who were polled, 57% believed that figures used to calculate the deficit in Scotland are made up by Westminster in order to hide Scotland's true wealth. Okay, so people are not, huge numbers of Scottish nationalists are not believing the figures because they simply just think they're made up, even though these are like the figures that you can work out from the Scottish administration's own statistics. they'll think that they're made up by Westminster. So we're dealing with a huge number of people who literally do believe in what might be termed fake news, or propaganda, who simply will accept the propaganda without looking into the reality. And it's the same with other things that are going on right now. Is what you're going to believe then comes down to who has got the loudest foghorn to push that particular point of view. Whether it's on Scottish separation or whether it's on other controversial issues at the moment, if all you're seeing, hearing, reading, listening to is one particular point of view, then that point of view can come to dominate unless you have access to alternative sources of information. And the huge, we still do have access, thankfully. There's somebody that I follow on Twitter who is a delivery driver for a pizza company. That's his job, but the stuff that he puts out is extremely clever, because he's got it figured out as well, especially about what's happening around the pandemic, so-called, and the propaganda related to that. And I mean, he's just like you could say a lowly job, but he's as much of an expert as anybody that you'll see on television. And this is possible now because of access to information that can be accessed by people through the internet, that you can make yourself an expert on something even if you don't have a formal qualification in it. And very often you can speak more sense than the so-called experts on it. I see this all the time. So-called experts writing and being heard and being broadcast on the internet and on mainstream media channels, but they don't actually know what they're talking about. Andrew's not very happy here with his swearing at us. Okay, he's an SNP person. The Union is alive and kicking, mate. It's certainly far from dead, but very much look forward to you guys losing tomorrow. I won't bring up his comment because he swears. See, if you swear, it's an automatic ban, mate. I'm sorry, but you have to be automatically banned. If you want to engage normally, then we'll keep you on. But if you're just going to come straight on and swear, you'll never be able to be allowed on our channel ever again until the end of the world. Okay, so you've blown your first opportunity. Oh, man. Sue says, the report is totally true. I argue the toss with Nat voters daily, and they do all think that Westminster keeps most of our taxes. They forget the money is spent on pensions, benefits, defence, security, etc. Absolutely. That's so true. And all these freebies that Nicola Sturgeon has decided to announce just now, who's paying for all of that? That's all coming ultimately from the great British taxpayers' purse. Everybody's contributing to that in some way. That's not just coming from what she's got here in Scotland. That's all going to just... Because what she's got here in Scotland comes from the British taxpayers' purse. Okay, so everything that she promotes up here is ultimately traced back to the British taxpayer throughout the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, paying for Sturgeon's freebies, which is really ironic when you think about it. So she can promise the moon on the back of the British taxpayer. It's an incredibly good position for her to be in. Incredibly good position. It would be different if we were separated, because then she'd have to find the money from Scottish taxpayers alone, and that might be a harder ask. And there's something that I want to just mention, because when we had our Union Day rally there, we were talking about the benefits of the Union, and one of the benefits that I pointed out was that we can share the wealth and resources throughout the United Kingdom. For everybody in the United Kingdom, we can share our wealth and resources so that the rest of the UK can help Scotland when it's in need, And if Scotland's got more money than it needs, we can help the rest of the UK. And sometimes that happens as well. So that's a great thing. It's a great thing that we've got here. And as we always say, Scotland is big enough and rich enough and clever enough to share its wealth and resources with our family throughout the United Kingdom. That's the point of the Union. You know, people say, what's the point of the Union? Well, one of the points of the Union is that we can share our wealth and resources with the rest of the United Kingdom. Isn't that a fantastic thing? Isn't that what you want to do? Isn't that what sharing is all about? Isn't that what all for one and one for all is all about? That's the point, is to share and share alike. And the Union enables us to do that. Okay? It's not just about what we get from the rest of the UK. Sure, sometimes we get more than we give, but sometimes we give more to the rest of the UK than we get back. Great, that's what the Union's about. That's why we have it. That's one of the benefits of it, and has been understood since the 1st of May 1707, when we began this great adventure. What I called at the rally our great opportunity. The Union is what it has always been, our great opportunity. And unity is part of the word opportunity as well. So the Union is our great opportunity. Tommy says, England, people are incensed that Scots don't pay for medical prescriptions. Well, I can understand that. But it's your money, Tommy, so thank you at least for that. As I say, everything that we get up here for free is British taxpayers' money. But it's just that the administration has chosen to use a certain amount of money that they get for free medical prescriptions. And because it's a vote winner. But I can understand, definitely, people in the rest of the UK thinking that's really irritating. Oh, totally. And you know, if the SNP can do something to irritate the English, they will, unfortunately. That's just how they are. Here's Andrew Henderson. I can never understand these natty idiots who have to be nasty when someone like you tries to educate the joy of being part of the greatest union in the world. Thanks, Alistair, for all that you do. Well, thank you, Andrew, for that nice comment. We got a lot of people coming in who don't appreciate how lucky they are to live in our wonderful islands of the United Kingdom. They don't understand what a blessing that is, an absolute blessing, and how it could all go south so quickly. Because once you start breaking up the UK into 4 separate parts, it's going to be 4 separate squabbling parts. And as we said back in on the Saturday at our Union Day celebration rally, you know, that the danger of us squabbling forevermore was recognised back in 1707, and it was seen that within a union we would be far more likely to get on. And of course, when the union came in after 1707, there was a period there of about 50 years which was a bit dicey, what with the Jacobites getting upset and things like that, but eventually got onto an even keel, and during the 19th and most of the 20th century it went extremely well. No doubt about that. Jonathan, I don't know the answer to that question. Would national insurance have to increase to cover free prescriptions in England? Thing is, as well, to remember is that Scotland is a very, England's massively populated. Okay, I don't know, it rises by like 500,000 a year with all the illegal immigrants being allowed in, but Scotland's only about 5 million people. Okay, and so things can be done in Scotland, and they don't cost as much overall as it would if it was done in England. So that's also another reason why Scotland can get off with quite a few of these freebies, is because there's simply less people to pay for up here. Well, yeah, the free prescriptions will end if Scotland ever became separated, as TC points out. And yeah, it would all go south in the case of sep- separation. And Richard's, if you put up a link there, Richard, about why England should care about Scotland separating. That's an article that we wrote a while ago. A speech that we gave actually about why England should care about what's going on. Most of England, of course, already does care, but for those who don't see the connection. And of course, Guy says that Nats don't like the Royal Bank of Scotland announcement that the Royal Bank of Scotland would be leaving Scotland if it became separated. And of course, that's because the Royal Bank of Scotland has so much money on its books that they need that money to be protected by the British Central Bank, which it wouldn't be protected if and insured by the British Central Bank. It certainly wouldn't be able to be insured under a separated Scotland. So that's why RBS would have to leave Scotland and have to set up in England to ensure that the power of the central bank there was able to insure RBS's funds. All these sorts of things, especially all these things, are so important, but they never really get pulled out properly. We try to highlight these things at our speech on Union Day, which we will this coming week. Once the election's over, we'll get those two speeches that we made on Saturday. We'll get them up onto the internet. But one of the things that we pointed out was the political benefits of being in union, and how absurd it is that the SNP want to leave the British Union to join the EU Union, for which they do with whom they do far less trade. But especially how ridiculous, considering that the United Kingdom is essentially what the European Union aspires to be. And this point was made to us very clearly by a journalist called Alex Carew in a Money Week article several years ago, which we'll put up on the internet again. And he said, the EU wants to become like the United Kingdom, this perfect multinational state with one common language, one common head of state, one common internal market, one common border area, and common banking union, and common social and cultural unions. All of these things that we take for granted, these political things that we take for granted right now in the UK, is what the EU, in its wildest dreams, would like to become. So we already have the perfect political union in the UK, yet for some reason the Scottish nationalists want to break away from that and join a far less successful and a far more problematical union in the shape of the European Union. How absurd is that? That's not a point that's very often made, except by us and by that fantastic journalist Alex Carew. We'll put up the link to that article in the comments in this video after the video is published, after this broadcast is published. I'll put up the link to that. And don't equate the UK with the EU. Yes, we're not intending to do it literally, but yeah, the UK is a kingdom born of an active union, not an existing union which can be removed like a paperclip, which implies federation. I know what you're getting at, Ian. Absolutely, I agree with you. Jonathan says there would be no UK without Scotland. What would we be called then? Good question. You see, that's not always realised properly, is it? That people say the rest of the UK or what's left of the UK, but I mean, what would that be? What would that be? That would be England, Northern Ireland, and Wales. But how long would that last for? How long would that last for? This is what's at stake here. It's the future of the United Kingdom that's at stake. It's not about Scotland breaking away. It's about Scotland breaking up the United Kingdom. It's not about Scotland breaking away from the United Kingdom. It's about Scotland breaking up the United Kingdom. And that will not be allowed to happen, folks. We will not allow that to happen. Please do share this video, by the way, if you're watching on Facebook, or give us a thumbs up on YouTube, or subscribe to us on YouTube, or please retweet us on Twitter. If you can retweet us with a positive comment, then we'll retweet your comment to over 26,000 people. So we did have our quiz question at the top of the hour, and our quiz question was, what is the motto of the SAS, who on this day, on the 5th of May 1980, rescued the hostages from the Iranian Embassy in London? And the motto of the SAS is, of course, "Who dares wins," which is a fantastic little three-word motto. Who dares wins. And we do have a winner. We have several people who have got the right answer, I should add. Several people who have got the right answer, but we do have a winner. And let me just put up the name of the winner. Very pleased to see the winner, which is Sue. Congratulations. Sue is going to be the proud owner and eater, the proud eater of these jelly beans, which will be winging their way to you today, Sue. If you could send us, please, your address via that email, and we'll get these off in the post to you today. And enjoy them, because I think there's 50 different ones, and all kind of strange flavours, from pink grapefruit to kiwi fruit to pomegranate to strawberry cheesecake to strawberry daiquiri. A strawberry daiquiri jelly bean, okay? Amazing, amazing stuff. These are great wee prizes. We're so glad that we've got several of them to fire out over the coming weeks. So well done, Sue, for that. And thank you to everybody else who sent in the right answer there. But Sue was first on the button, and she got the answer straight away sent to that address. So Susie says, congratulations, Sue. Mags says, well done, Sue. TC, well done, Sue. Tommy says, let the people of Scotland dare tomorrow. Good point. We're going to use that as an excellent one. Who dares wins. Let's dare to believe we can do better. Scotland. Dare to purge the Sturge. Dare to get Humza out. So congratulations to this week's winner, Sue Gail Channon. Well done, Sue. Frankie says congratulations. Alan says well done, Sue. Philip, I think you sent it into the comments, Philip, but it's the email that's the easiest way for us to judge the fastest person. And Sue says, yummy, thanks very much. Good, good. Good to see. Now, we book for the Union. Read it in an afternoon. we always give a plug to the wee book for the Union. We've put up the link there for it. Lots of good stuff in there. Some of the stuff that we were talking about at the Union Day celebration is also in there as well, and that's only a £5, and that includes postage to anywhere in the United Kingdom. So please do fire in and get one of those as well, because they're a real good intellectual stimulation for the Unionist cause. Well done. Sue says, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone. Well, thank you everyone for watching today. We're going to be back next Wednesday, and oh my, what are we going to be talking about next Wednesday? Because it will all have been revealed, and we will have a pretty good idea of where we're going in the next 5 years. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until we know the entire result to Sunday, but by next Wednesday we will know the lie of the land, and we could have some amazing surprises there as well. So folks, it's been a blast today. We didn't have a guest. Our guest wasn't able to make it, but hopefully next week we'll have somebody on. And if you know anybody who would like to be on this program, please do tell us. Please do tell us, because we're always looking for people. And I'm not going to make a prediction, Ian. I'm not going to make a prediction at the moment, other than we're going to get some surprises. Now, please do visit that site, which is aforceforgood.uk/support, because that will enable us to have your name and email, and regardless of what the system does to us, we'll still be able to communicate with you via email. So Tommy says, excellent. Again, glad you enjoyed the show, Tommy. Always good to have you coming in, as it is with everybody there. Best of luck tomorrow. Remember to get out to vote, as I know you all will. Let's hope you get what you want in your area, wherever that may be in the United Kingdom. It just remains for me to say, folks, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week. God bless the United Kingdom, and God save the Queen.